And no surprise, we'll start with the decision about the headquarters of the business and whether you decide to move that. Can you give us a bit more insight into what you'll be considering in September? We understand that neither Denmark nor Sweden will have made a firm decision on banking union by September. So how are you able to say that your decision will come in September?
First of all, we decided not to make the decision yesterday because of these new facts that have come out. We've done a lot of thorough work on this. It's not a simple decision, and I think we are getting ready to make that decision. And banking union, as you mentioned, is an important thing. We are a multinational bank. We have 4 home markets, and those 4 home markets are all part of the single market, and we need predictable, fair and regulation and regulatory environment where we have that predictability. And hence I think banking union is an important element here, and of course we need to then assess, that is an important element, and yes, we need to assess
but Casper, if
the likelihood of that.
If the decision by the Danish and Swedish government slips and you don't know the answer on banking union by September, I guess your timing could slip too.
No, I don't think so. I think we've come far enough to be able to make that decision. I think it is right to take these extra few months here and then make the decision. But I think we are ready to make a decision early September.
When you see what happened in Spain, when you see what happened in Italy in regards to resolution, the very debatable issues in the spirit of the law and the actual law, the risk of a Nordic lender becoming part of the banking union, does that sit comfortably with you from what you've seen over the past 3 months about how Europe deals with its banks? Are you still that comfortable, really?
I think when you look at the Spanish case, I think that was handled very much in line with kind of the new regime that is now put in place. We also have to remember this regime will also develop. We are talking today not about bailouts but bail-in, and I think when we go forward, I think it is important to have that a level playing field where everybody has the same rules and also the predictability, and I think the banking union actually provides that.
There is this proposition out there that you are, I suppose, taking advantage. The critics would say that as Nordea, as your size and your scale, you're essentially arbing the market. You're just hedging yourself and you're using your weight and your heft to extract perhaps better terms and the best possible deal. That's potentially what your critics would say. Some people would say this is pragmatism of a good CEO. How do you relate to the charges from your critics that you're just swinging your size and your scale around here and you're arbitraging?
I would actually not call it arbitrage. I'm actually calling for a level playing field and actually being treated the same way as my European peers. I think actually I'm calling for everybody being treated the same and not actually arbitraging, and I think that is both an assumption and an accusation which is plain wrong.
Can I ask you also on this subject of the headquarters then? So we talked about the banking union, and that's clearly part of the story, Casper. What else do you need to see movement on between now and September to convince you to stay in Sweden?
I don't really want to start speculating on what will happen between now and then. I think we have come a long way in our own assessment, and I'm confident that we are in a position to make that final decision in September.
Let's get to the nitty-gritty now of the business, Casper, because, of course, the headline is second quarter net income. You missed the lowest estimate, 740 million. Net interest income also a miss as well. These numbers in themselves, the market are going to question these numbers. Give us a sense of what's going on behind the business. Is there a slowdown in any particular part of the business? How should we interpret this miss?
No, I think it's actually, we have a stable quarter in the second quarter, not our best quarter. There are some specific second quarter issues there, but I think when we look at the quarter, we are in line with last year, so we're bang on line with last year. When we look at the first half of this year, we are ahead of last year. We are 4% ahead of last year. We have a very strong fee commission line, and really what actually is characterizing this quarter is our cost. And we have actually warned on that, and we actually have predicted that we would have high cost in the second quarter and actually in the first half of 2017. So that actually comes as planned, and that is the reason for that is that we are going through a tremendous transformation program, the simplification, the core bank system replacement. And we've always said that we are front-loading those costs, and we will see those costs and the cost growth coming down in the second half of 2017. And we still maintain our target to have our 18 cost at the 16 level. So in that sense, I think it is the cost that actually is highlighted in the second quarter, but that comes pretty much according to what we had expected as well.
Yes, and I remember last time we spoke to you, Casper, you talked about the need for investment in digital, and that was one area that the costs, you were incurring those costs. Tell me about the margins that you're able to generate at the moment and how the competitive environment influences those margins. Is there less competition out there at the moment? Because some of your margins do seem to be improving.
Our lending margins have actually been stable, and I think if there would be a bias, there would be a positive bias there going forward. On our deposit margins actually have improved, and I think that is also a positive bias there. So I think we've been be able to hold those margins, and as I said, on the deposit side, the margins have actually been improving, and of course we work hard to continue that trend.
In terms of the outlook for the economy, just looking at some of the GDP forecasts for the Nordic economies, we sort of seem to have turned a little bit of a corner there. Give us your assessment of the economy in terms of what's going on. What's going to drive the loan books higher? How's the corporate environment? Give me your perspective.
I think for the first time really in, I would say, 6 years, at least the 6-7 years I've been with the bank, we see a more aligned, synchronized growth picture in the Nordic region. All 4 Nordic countries are actually growing quite in a healthy way. It hasn't really been seen yet in the corporate loan demand, but I actually expect that to start seeping through as well. So overall, the economic backdrop now, at least in the foreseeable future in the Nordics, is actually positive, and I would expect that also to be seen in the business down the road.